Hey, this is Davin with Hagerty, our Redline rebuild updates. As you can see, our Jeep is in the air. What you can't see though is it's 100% assembled. That's what I said, 100% assembled. Obviously the wheels aren't on it. Come on, give me a break. So you can see our shiny new oil pan here on our freshly rebuilt engine, our rebuilt transmission from Rock Auto, and we reused our transfer case and just resealed everything. And of course we have fresh exhaust in it with a fresh high flow catalytic converter, because the other one was no longer.
Oh, yeah.
And we're all buttoned up from the underside and the top side. Now, as we go through and we look at this, it was glorious to work on something that wasn't completely rusted, I have to admit. So, being a Colorado vehicle, doesn't have as much exposure to salt as our stuff here in Michigan does, so that was very handy as far as taking things apart and putting it back together ultimately. We did take some, like our cross member we took because it's where it's at. We had that powder coated. If you look real closely up here, you can get a glimpse of our Cerakoted header. This is the stock header that came on these, which is pretty impressive given that it's a tubular header opposed to a cast iron manifold. Let's lower it down and we'll show you some of the things we went through on the top. Well, there it is. Magically, it's all together. So over the course of about 2 days, myself and actually Jeff gave me a hand, and we got this all put back together. Mechanically, it's 100%. We still have a couple things in the interior that we had to pull out and make some cleanup to, and we got to get that done. But we have everything in here, fresh belts, hoses, obviously the motor's fresh. You'll see that in the time lapse, 100%. And so here you can see our exhaust header and then our intake manifold. Those are both coated by West Michigan Cerakote and will last a very long time. And actually our fuel rail is as well. Let's see what else. It was pretty funny. We had their air box off in the corner, and we took and cleaned the tops of the valve cover off to make it spiffy. And ironically, when we flipped this over, we're all laughing because we're like, oh, look at that. Now, one thing that's obviously a little different than some of the other projects that we worked on is this has all the emissions. It has air conditioning. It has a bunch of extra electrical stuff from our standpoint. So it's a little bit daunting when you first start doing things, but I tell you what, it's not bad. Just start taking it off, setting it aside, label it if you need to. And then one thing I found, and this is my rockauto.com tip of the day, is, for instance, when you bring your electrical back in, okay, the wires want to go where they plug in. Now that sounds maybe a little odd, but the point is, like for instance, these fuel injection is a perfect example. Because they've been on the vehicle for a long time, they have some bend to them that when I take these off, they bend exactly like this. So determining which one was 1 and which one was 2 is pretty easy because it wants to go to 1 and 2. So again, my rockauto.com tip of the day is, well, let the wires tell you where they want to be and trust the parts. All right, so what else do we have? I know our update today is going to be a little scattered and a little short because at the end of this, I'm going to start this up and break it in because I have not done that yet. Normally we would do that on a test stand, but given the computer and all the wiring, it made no sense to strip that out to put it on the test stand. So we'll break it in right here in its own test stand. And then we'll be able to drive it after a couple heat cycles sitting here. We'll take it out and drive it. But before we go for today, let's reminisce about a project that everyone's been asking about and quite frankly has been, kind of pushed aside, which we all get guilty of at some point. At least I know I am. So here is our 40 Ford race car that we've been working on sporadically, right? Here and there when we got a couple hours, whatever it might be. But I want to show you some progress, and I want you to see it from this side. So if you come over here, we have not only the steering mocked or done, but we have our exhaust is done. It looks perfect. So we have our 440 engine in here, mocked into place, and a little help with little help from Jeff. He helped get this wrapped up. So we gotta get these sent out and coated, and of course, weld on the last bits. But for all intents and purposes, the headers for the race car are now complete. So that is a huge step in the right direction, because as anything, when you're doing a car that's completely fabricated, you need to mock everything up all at one time, more or less, and to avoid problems when you paint it and then go to put stuff together. So we are making progress on this for those that are concerned, and it is getting higher on the list of got to complete. Okay, so now you know us well enough at this point that, well, you're not gonna get the full-on experience of us starting it right now, but I will give you a little taste.
180 up. It's not 180 up. Sweet, ain't it idle? We don't want to get too hot right now.
Got me now?
Yep.
Sweet. Well, it starts. It's not 180 out. Ben didn't jinx me this time or put some sort of foobar in there. So we're good, but it's late and we're not on a heavy deadline this time. So I'm going home, and we'll fire it up tomorrow and break it in. So I guess if this is the update, it didn't start and something's drastically wrong. Get out in the shop, get your work done. See ya.